We are in London, England, and our K1 visa has just been approved. So we wanted to show you how we assembled our K1 Visa Embassy packet and all the documents and items that we included in our folder. Plus, share with you what interview questions were asked and what documents were actually taken by the US Embassy and looked at.
My embassy appointment was a week ago, and I've just picked up my passport, which now has a K1 visa. And I also have this yellow envelope, which I need to hand over to the CBP officer upon my arrival into the USA.
We decided to organize all of our documents into this ring binder folder so it would be easily accessible to flick through and grab relevant documents that were required at the embassy. Here's what we included.
The first page includes my DS-160 confirmation page, proof of payment from the US Embassy interview, my passport, and 2 US-sized passport photos. I kept these at the front of the binder as I knew my DS-160 confirmation page and passport would be required when checking in at the embassy.
The next page is our original NVC K1 FTP welcome letter, followed by a copy of this on the next page. Although it's not essential, we decided to make and include photocopies of certain documents in the event that it would be needed during the interview. We then included copies of our NOAA 1 and NOAA 2.
The next page are some medical documents, including the receipt that I've attended my medical appointment. Next, we have updated letters of intent to marry. These are similar to what we submitted with the I-129F, but they are more recently dated. Here's what we wrote on the updated letter of intent to marry, so you can take a screenshot if you'd like to use it for yourself. I, beneficiary's name, and the UK citizen and beneficiary, and petitioner's name is my petitioner. We respectfully submit this letter of intent to marry as evidence and promise to marry each other in the United States. We are both legally able to and willing to marry within 90 days after his arrival to the USA with a K1 visa. We included 2 letters, one that is signed and dated by the US petitioner and one by the beneficiary. Just remember that it's incredibly important to sign and date these letters.
We then included the I-134 form, which is the proof of financial support from the US petitioner, that they are able to support the beneficiary financially. We have a video on our channel that demonstrates how to fill out the form step by step, as well as the supporting documents you need to include with the form. Documents that we included were W-2s, 1040s, bank statements, and IRS tax transcripts. This form is mandatory and must be taken to the interview. As you can see, we've just used paper clips to keep and hold everything in place rather than stapling anything together. The next page is the US petitioner's proof of identity. So for that, we included a photocopy of my passport and birth certificate.
Next, we have the beneficiary's birth certificate. The original version of this is required for the interview, and I also included a copy of this on the next page. We then have the beneficiary's police certificate, which I obtained from my country of residence, which is the United Kingdom. On the following page, I included a copy of this. Also, bear in mind, if you've lived in any other countries for more than 6 months after the age of 16, you'll need a police certificate from that country too. Next, we included a copy of the beneficiary's passport in case, for whatever reason, they ask for a copy of it. We just like to be as thorough and prepared for anything, as it's easier to prepare now for things rather than panic that we don't have something while at the embassy. On the next page, I included my I-94, which lists all my entries into the US. This isn't required, but as the DS-160 had asked for dates of any entries made into the USA, I decided to take copies of these. But they're not essential at all, and if you haven't traveled to America before, then you won't have an I-94 record.
The next section is our proof of relationship. So first of all, we included photos, and you can include a selection from the date of submitting the initial I-129F K1 petition to today's date to show that you still have an ongoing relationship. If you don't have photos, you can also include call logs, WhatsApp conversations, evidence on social media, or anything that's joint to you, such as bank accounts, for example. We included photos and we listed the date and a brief description, as you can see here. We kept things super organized and listed the date, description, and a selection of photos from that date. We also included travel receipts of visiting each other and trips we took together, such as boarding passes and train tickets. We also have WhatsApp conversations together, as well as photos from our social media accounts. The main idea is just to show that you've maintained an ongoing relationship.
We also had a copy of our I-129F packet to hand, but this isn't necessary or required at all.
These were the documents that we compiled in our folder, but I would highly recommend logging on to the U.S. Embassy website for your home country, where they provide a list of documents that are country specific that you may require for your interview. We did not include items such as divorce or death certificates, court or prison records, or translations from documents in foreign languages, as they weren't relevant to our case. So I would bear in mind you may need to include these too in your packet.
My interview took place at the London Embassy in the United Kingdom. At my interview, the documents they asked for were my DS-160 confirmation page, original birth certificate, one US passport size photo, my passport, my police certificate, and the I-134 proof of financial support, along with the most recent 1040 and W2. In my case, they didn't ask for any photos or the letter of intent to marry or any other type of evidence. But of course, each case is different and you may be asked for more items or documents than I was asked for. I was then asked questions about my relationship. The officer asked me, how did you both meet? Where and how did you propose? Have either of you been married before? And what are your plans for getting married? After answering those questions, I was told my visa was approved and I could expect it in 1 week's time. The whole process took approximately 30 minutes from entering the US Embassy to leaving the embassy. The entire process was a lot quicker than I had expected.
After your interview, you're able to check the status of your application on the Department of State website with the case tracker. It will initially say application received, then change to approved, and then finally to issued. We wish you all the luck at your interview and hope you're reunited with your partner soon. I hope this video helps and gives you guidance on what to take to your interview. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out and drop questions in the comments below.